Hey, welcome to online geometry. You all are used to this because you've seen me do so many of these videos, but here we go again. Today the purpose is to review SOH CAH TOA because if you're watching this video, it means you probably didn't take the trig test and we need to get that test in the gradebook, and so we're just going to review and then chunk the test out to make it easier. So at the end of the week, by Sunday, although all these notes are in your Unit 6 packet if you want to look there. So we're going to begin with what this stands for is that the sine of an angle equals the opposite leg over the length of the hypotenuse. Ideally, what you'll do right now is pause the video and fill out something similar for this, and then come back to make sure you did it right. So the CA stands for cosine of an angle equals the adjacent leg over the hypotenuse. And TOA means the tangent. A right triangle trig problem using SOH CAH TOA, there are a couple of steps, and I'm going to write those steps out. So step one is to pick an angle to work from. Now if you're looking for a missing side, you can choose any angle but not the 90-degree angle. Okay, so either of the other two. Step two is to label the sides with the hypotenuse, and that's across from the right angle, the adjacent side, and the opposite side based on the angle you picked. Step three is to set up your ratio. And then step four will look different depending on whether you're solving for a side or an angle. So I'm going to split step four. If you're looking for a side, okay, I'll call this step A. You're going to multiply by the denominator on both sides. And B, finish solving if necessary. Okay? If you're looking for an angle, then it's trig function on both sides. That is it. That is literally all you need to know to be successful on the little mini quiz you're going to take Friday. So all we're going to do right now is 3 quick example problems, and that's it. So please draw a right triangle. Obviously, I'm going fast through this, but feel free to pause and rewind as you need to. Okay, right triangle. This is side X. This is length 10, and this little angle over here is 38 degrees. All right. I hope you have a calculator handy. If not, pause and go grab one. Okay, let's look back through our steps. So step one is to pick an angle, one that's not 90 degrees. And so I could pick this one, but since this one was labeled for me, I think it's going to be easier if I pick this angle, and I'm just going to circle it. Okay, step two is to label the sides, hypotenuse, adjacent, and opposite. I'd really like for you to pause the video quickly from the angle you picked. And so if I go across the triangle here, this is the opposite side from this angle, and that means this is the adjacent side. Set up our ratio. And so for step three, I have to pick which thing I'm going to use, sine, cosine, or tangent. And so to do that, I need to think about what I know and what I want to know. I know the hypotenuse, so I need to make sure that h is included, and I need to know the opposite side, so I need to make sure that o is included. So I'm looking for the trig function that uses h and o. The adjacent side isn't helping me here, so h and o. So looking back up at SOH CAH TOA, okay, I'm looking at the last 2 letters. And the one that uses H and O is this one. And so I'm going to be using sine. So we come down here. The opposite side is X. And the hypotenuse is 10. So we're done with step 3. Step 4. Step 4, that's a side length. You multiply by the denominator on both sides. And so in this case, that means we are going to multiply on both sides by 10. If we divide by 10 and then we turn around and multiply by 10, those cancel. And so what I have left is 10 times the sine of 38 degrees equals x. And at this point I'm essentially done because I have x isolated, it's by itself, and so all I have to do is type this into my calculator. That just says calc. So I'm going to come to my trusty calculator and type in 10 times the sine of 38 degrees. And if you don't have one of these, you can use your phone or you can use that out. Okay, so x is about, I'm going to round to the nearest tenth, so like 6.2. And that seems reasonable given the picture. All right, let's do example 2. Example 2, again, let's draw a right triangle maybe like that. This angle will be 48 degrees. This is x, and that's 19. What I'd like you to do is pause the video and try to do this whole problem on your and adjacent. And I'm going to choose a trig function and set up my ratio. So in this problem, it's the opposite that I know, and it's the adjacent side that I need to know. And so I'm looking for the function that uses opposite and adjacent. And looking up at the top, the one that uses opposite and adjacent is tangent. So tan of 48 degrees equals opposite over adjacent. This problem is slightly harder than the previous one because my variable is on the x, and then I turned around and multiply it by x. The x's cancel, and I'm just left with 19. So dropping everything down, I have x times the tangent of 48 equals 19. And now the itself, and so the way we undo multiplication is with division. And so I'm going to divide on both sides by the tangent of 48 degrees. And this is just some random decimal, and if I divide it by itself, they will cancel. So I'm left with x equals that mess, which I can just type into my calculator. And so I'm going to do that. 19 divided by the tangent of 48 degrees. And again, I'll round to the nearest tenth. And again, looking back here, that seems pretty reasonable. Okay, one more problem. I know I'm going fast, but that's just because this is review, and you can pause whenever you need to. So last problem. Okay, there's our right triangle. I'm going to say that's x degrees. This leg is 11, and then this, but we began exactly the same way. Okay, pick an angle. I'm going to pick this angle because it's the one I need to find. Label your sides. Here's the hypotenuse because it's across from the right angle. Opposite, adjacent. And I would love it if you all could go ahead and pause the video, see if you can remember how to do this, and if not, just press play again. I need to know the angle. I need to choose a function that includes two sides I know. I know the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. Adjacent and hypotenuse, A and H, that's going to be cosine. So the cosine of my angle, which is just x, I don't know it, equals the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. But it's actually easier because here's my variable. All that's with it is cosine. And to get rid of a cosine, all I have to do is use what's called inverse cosine. And it looks like that. And as long as we do that to both sides, that's a legal algebra move, right? Inverse cosine and cosine cancel. X is alone. And so all I have to do is type this into my calculator. So I'm going to grab my calculator. I'm going to type inverse cosine of 11 divided by 15. And I'm going to round this. All right. So this video is about 12 minutes long, but I'm sure that you paused it in places, and so I don't want to give you too much more work to do, but I am going to put 2 or 3 example problems up that I would like for you to complete on your own, just so that I can if you feel like you want more practice before Friday's quiz. And then anytime, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out either through Google Classroom or through email, and I will just leave you with